It's been a week and a weekend. Anyways, this vlog's gonna be a little bit different. The fact that it's mostly gonna be me and my thoughts. But sorry, not a lot of clips this week, but more so me talking. So I hope that's okay. Anyways, let's get started. So it's been about half a year, a little more than that, vlogging, and I have yet to really talk about cancer. Like, I write about it and like show clips of progression and regression and stuff and how she's doing, but nothing about my thoughts. So I thought this would be a good time for me to just talk to the camera. Maybe, what's it called? Catharsis. I wrote a bunch of notes, and I wrote them because I think the reality of cancer, it keeps hitting me in layers, like different layers, and a recent layer hasn't really hit me until like last week. And so anyways, let's kind of start from the beginning. When we first heard the news 2.5 years ago, for her first diagnosis, obviously it was devastating. Like, it's pretty crazy to think that you can go from healthy to stage 4 cancer in just one diagnosis. It's crazy. So the initial shock and processing of that was difficult. Anyway, so we start chemo. Avastin and Folfox were her medicines as ordered by our oncologist, and that was fun. We weren't really sure what to expect. Like, you hear horror stories about chemo all the time. I did my research, and the symptoms were pretty much, the side effects were to be expected. It was like what you hear about: mouth sores and diarrhea and nausea, and most of all fatigue. That's the biggest one. I think fatigue was at first, I mean this is before I knew anything. Like, at first I thought, whatever, fatigue, I've been tired before, it's not a big deal. But I was wrong because chemo fatigue, as we would come to learn over the time, is completely different. It's on a different level, different order of fatigue than what normally functioning humans, us, just cannot empathize with. And like, she just wanted to be in bed all the time. She wasn't even tired like you would be after a workout, but she would describe it as like 피곤해, or 힘들어, not 피곤해, 힘들어, which literally translates to it's taking strength. 힘이 들다. So, and even then, it's difficult to understand, and we'll just never understand, which is something that I just have to deal with and understand that I can't understand, unless I want to do chemo, which is a hard pass. But yeah, I think so. Fatigue was the hardest, like, physiological thing that I had to come to grips with and understand. But anyways, the most important thing is her quality of life remained pretty much the same, with the exception of a couple of scares we had. Like, if at the beginning of my vlogs, there's a one called, I think, Weekend at the Hospital. That was when she was hospitalized for the internal bleeding. She got an embolization done, and I think after that her stomach started swelling more and more afterwards. But overall, like, she would return back to a normal state of being. Like, her results in terms of CT scans and blood work being done, they were, up and down. But the hardest part was that the day-to-day was the same. The day-to-day things were normal. Well, at least normal to what we knew to be normal. And it was normal enough to where I would subconsciously like label things as okay, and you fool yourself into thinking that everything is okay, when in reality is much different. and that's the hardest part. I think that was the hardest part. Like we go to the gym together, we go out to eat as a family. We would generally be, for the most part, normal. And I think that was the danger of it, because I got lulled into this sense of normalcy. I got lulled into a sense of safety almost. What did I write here? Oh yeah, I got lulled into normalcy, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but like it turns out when you brush things under the carpet without dealing with them, it turns out to be really bad for your mental health later when things are not going as well. Now, this is kind of a tangent, but we as a family have had to get used to many new normals, as they keep saying, like, this is the new normal. Like in terms of, oh yeah, this is normal now. She's not gonna have hair. That's gonna have to be normal. Like she's not gonna have as much energy as before. That will be the new normal. She won't be able to do as much mom stuff. That's the new normal. And we as a family have had to adapt, and quickly adapt at least, and just come to grips with a new normal every time something happens, or every time something progresses. And so this whole thing with the pandemic about this is the new normal, I think we've been having an easier time dealing with that than most others. So maybe that's a blessing in disguise. So in December 2019, she broke her ankle, and I wrote down, it's vlog 10, so vlog 10, I'm guessing. That's when things started to not go so well as a whole. And you can only see like little glimpses of it through watching the vlogs, because I watched through them. I tried to see her regression physically, but it's hard to see. It's very subtle in the vlogs, and it's hard to see because my mom doesn't like being recorded, so I don't record. I don't want to invade her privacy or what she wants. Anyway, so you can see that you cannot see this sort of gradual deterioration that is happening off camera. And ever since she got diagnosed with that metastasis into her left femur, that deterioration has been accelerating like crazy. Like it just took off. We had never seen her deteriorate so quickly. I'm using that word a lot, deteriorate. I suddenly don't like it. But yeah, we haven't seen her get that bad so fast. What did I write here? She had been constantly complaining after she broke her right ankle and into the recovery stage that her left leg was hurting. She was like, oh, my left leg hurts. It hurts. And obviously, hindsight is 20/20, but at the time, we thought that since she was favoring her left side while walking, after breaking her right ankle, it was just overexertion or something like that, or muscle pain. We would have never in a million years guessed that the cancer would have grown into the femur bone. And that was another reality that had to sink in. That was tough. Yeah. But anyway, so she got the surgery done to clean out her femur, and then we stuck a titanium rod in there, blah, blah, blah. But she has been bedridden ever since. So ever since that surgery, she hasn't been able to stand without a walker or get around without a walker, etc., etc. And this is where all of her symptoms just get worse and worse and worse. Like her fatigue is worse than ever. She doesn't have any energy, and that's been really hard to process. She wasn't eating it well at all. She's lost like a lot of muscle mass, a lot of weight, and she's just overall really, really weak. Her body. I can't. It's different because you watch her and you see that, but I can't imagine what's going on in her mind watching herself become what she is now. that takes us to the present. This past week. It's a long vlog. I'm sorry. Last week she was just out of the blue. She just said she was having trouble using the right side of her body, and as soon as she said that, I was in my brain. I was like, oh no! Like if this went to her brain, like we are in trouble. And I immediately, that's the first thought. And she requested home care, which is where a nurse comes in and helps you and does as much as they can to make quality of life better, which includes giving hydration. So I think I have a clip or something of the nurse coming in and showing us how to attach the saline bag to her port. So we did a couple rounds of that, but after a round or two, I think on Friday, our oncologist texted us saying she needs to come in right away. Like, I want to see her right now. But what can we do? Like, she can't move. We tried to get her out of bed. She barely got out of bed. Still a lot of pain in the left leg following the surgery from the femur, and overall just weakness. So we had to call the ambulance, and these two big guys come upstairs. They had something called like a stair chair, where we strenuously got her into that stair chair, and they basically kind of lifted her off that chair. I forgot what they're called. Pangolins, something like that. But yeah, we got her into a stretcher or a gurney, and we immediately got her to the hospital, where they took an MRI scan, or is it an MRI scan? PET scan? Some sort of scan of her brain, and it revealed that there was this 2.4 centimeter lesion in her parietal lobe, upper right here. And that's when we moved her over to Northwestern. After she got taken to Northwestern on Friday night, she stayed the night. We went there on Saturday morning, just to check up on her, see how she's doing. They were administering steroids through her port to reduce the swelling in the brain that the lesion was creating. And so that seemed to help earlier. Because earlier she was unable to write anything with her right hand. It was that bad. She described it as like ugly caterpillars on a page. But after the steroids, she was able to write a little bit, at least a little better. And one of the hardest parts this past weekend is that due to the pandemic, we're only allowed one visitor per room, or per that room, and the visitor hours are from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., which sucks because we can't be with her all the time. And I know especially at night she has a hard time sleeping and doing just the little things that the nurses can't always attend to, like, can I move my pillow? Can you help me move my pillow a little bit? Can you charge my phone? Can you get my phone? Just the little things that she doesn't like bothering the nurses to do. And it's just much more comfortable with family. So yeah, the pandemic really makes things worse. Because things already suck, but they just make it suck more. But what can you do? I mean, it is the way things are. And we have to comply with the rules of the hospital. Just venting that it sucks, man. And after doing a bunch of tests, we were given two options. Either proceed with surgery, where they would do a craniotomy and go through the brain to resect the affected area, or we can go with radiation. We opted for surgery because radiation was just going to take too long, and our fear was that that much time not on chemotherapy is going to allow the cancer to continue to spread in her body, and we just don't have time for that. So we went with the faster and recommended option, which is surgery. And she just did that today, on Monday. A lot of anxiety. We finally got that phone call. And I was just... I was so relieved to hear that it had gone well, because the risks of brain surgery are there. You don't even have to talk about it. The risks for brain surgery, even though it was a superficial lesion that they said there were still associated risks. And on top of that, she's very weak. And so me personally, I was worried if her body could sustain another surgery on her brain. But after receiving that call, I've never been so relieved in my life. But here I am now, talking about it. I was gonna make this earlier when I was a mess after hearing that diagnosis about it spreading to her brain. I was a mess, but it didn't seem like the right time to make this video or to even process things. But now it seems like a better time. I've been able to collect myself better, and having a good result from the surgery doesn't help either, or it doesn't hurt either. But yeah, here we are now. So, moving forward, we are going to be now focused on recovery, obviously. We'll see how she is tomorrow after what brain surgery did to her. Wondering, actually, pretty curious as to her state of being. We'll see. But yeah, it's unknown moving forward how things are going to go. How she's going to recover, what brain surgery did for her, if it'll alleviate that swelling in her brain that caused right side weakness. The surgeon said it should help a lot, which is why we did it. But let's see. But for those who prayed for us during this time, thank you. Please continue to pray for us as we move forward. Keep us in your prayers. And we will just take things one day at a time. Oh boy, I'm actually cringing thinking about having to edit all this. This is going to be one of the hardest things I've ever edited in my life. I hate listening to myself talk, but it has to be done. Do it for the vlog. Do it for the vlog. You can do
죽은 자를 심판하려 오시리라. 성령을 믿사오며 거룩한 공회와 성도가 서로 교통하는 것과 죄를 사하여 주시는 것과 몸이 다시 사는 것과 영원히 사는 것을 믿사옵나이다. 아멘. 찬송가 423장입니다.
Gotcha. Thank you. So,
All right, my pleasure.
yeah, everything is good. Okay.
It's all good.
Thank you, Doc.
My pleasure. Have a good night.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.